Sorry about that, a little technical difficulties here. You are listening to New York Sports with Jacob Seus, as we just recapped the Mets winning 6 out of their last 9, really starting to find themselves. Hopefully they can continue that and just make a push at a decent record. They're 12 games off of 500. They need to start winning series, and they have been playing really good of late, and I would like to see that continue with the Mets. So, as we take a break from baseball, let's move over to basketball. Jason Kidd just hired new Brooklyn Nets head coach. What do I think about that? I think that it was a very risky move by GM Billy King. I think that it's really a gamble, especially the fact that we're starting our second year in Brooklyn and we are already dealing with our third head coach. Avery Johnson started off the inaugural campaign last year. Coach of the month, October, fired in November. PJ Carlesimo takes over, finishes off the season, gets the Nets to the playoffs. Very nice job, but after a first-round exit to the Bulls in 7 games, he got the boot. Jason Kidd hired. I really feel that they should have looked more into other coaches before hiring Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd brought his pitch to Billy and said, this is what I want to do. This is the direction in which I'm going to take my team. And he won. He won over the Nets staff, Billy King. They hired him just like that. I think that they could have looked more into other coaches. You had other candidates out there. You had Lionel Hollins, just fired from Memphis. You had Brian Shaw, considered to be one of the best assistant coaches in the league, from the Indiana Pacers. And after the Nuggets fired George Karl, who in my opinion would have been the best option for the Nets, but they didn't even consider him. They didn't give him a call. They didn't give him an interview. They told Karl's agent that they really did not have an interest in the coach. But I'm going to have my faith in Billy King. He has done a good job developing this team here in Brooklyn, and I don't see why we should doubt him yet. It's going to be interesting, though. Say the Nets start off the year not good, which is very possible considering the inconsistency of the team last year. Are we going to hear talks of Kidd out already? That's something I really don't want to hear. I want to have a coach in Brooklyn who's going to be there for the long term and get this team to where they need to be. I'm not going to judge a book by its cover, but in Jason Kidd's press conference, it really seemed like he did not have answers to many of the questions. Is he going to figure that out now, after the hiring of the head coach? He was supposed to go to Billy and have all the answers. That was the reason he got hired. I don't know. Nerve was with him, maybe. I don't know. I'm not going to judge him, though. I don't see any reason, though, why he can't come into Brooklyn and work with Baron Williams, who is a good friend and a mentor. Why he can't help the Nets do better than last season and get past the first round of the playoffs. But, step aside from the coaching situation, how is the Nets roster going to shape up next season? Well, we know the core guys will return. Darren Williams, Joe Johnson, Gerald Wallace, Brooke Lopez, who actually, Brooke Lopez, if you guys haven't heard, did go have a procedure today to have a screw removed from his foot last season, which really wasn't publicized until the surgery today, but not really a big deal. He gets to resume basketball activities in August, which I wouldn't be worried about as a Net fan. But the Nets payroll is very, very high, and it is going to be a challenge this offseason for GM Billy King to really structure the roster a little bit with dealing with that payroll. We've already heard that backup point guard C.J. Watson is demanding more money, and this year's money that the Nets really don't have. So the question is, what are they going to do? Are they going to gamble and give Watson the money? In my opinion, I wouldn't. Is Watson going to suck it up and take a down payment? Or are the Nets just going to say adios to Watson altogether? But then you have the option, are you going to go out and try and find a point guard to back up Darren Williams? Or are you going to put your faith in second-year point guard Tyshawn Taylor, who showed inconsistency last year in his rookie season? I know he didn't play much. He was up and down from the D-League and only came in late games, blowouts on either side. But when he was in, he showed times where he was able to control the offense, control the tempo, play with the other guys on the Nets, and then there were times where he just looked foolish. And I get that comes with being a rookie. You're learning as you go. But is Taylor able to be the backup point guard? Is he able to carry the Nets offense when Williams needs a breather? There were times this year where the Nets would be up by 5 and Darren Williams would sit. He normally sat at the beginning of the second quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, end of the third. But there would be times, say, Nets up by 5, Williams takes a seat. Williams comes back in, Nets are down by 5. That's what I'm looking for in a backup point guard, to not have that happen. You want, when your star comes out, you need someone who is going to remain consistent. If Williams comes out and the Nets are up by 5, I'm not saying for Williams to come back in and the Nets be up 15, but I want the Nets to be up at least 2 or 3. I really don't want much of a tempo swing where Williams has to come back in and then do all the work and fix that. And that is not only up to Darren Williams, the backup point guard. That is also up to Joe Johnson and Gerald Wallace to be able to control the game from their standpoint. They have to be able to help out. They have to be able to fill in the workload when Williams does have to take a seat. And also concerning the payroll, Andre Blatch, who the Nets got off of free agency from the Washington Wizards last year, was a great acquisition off the bench. We all saw that. He worked very well, struggled a little bit in the playoffs. Blatch is a free agent. Again, Nets took a gamble on him, only signed him to a 1-year deal. Are the Nets going to re-sign Blatch? Again, what are you looking for in free agency? What are you willing to spend? Last season, at the trade deadline, the Nets were deep in discussions for Atlanta's Josh Smith, but it turns out after all that they didn't trade him, and he now is a free agent with many options, and I really, really feel he would be a great fit in Brooklyn. But do we have the money? Getting Josh Smith would probably mean getting rid of Watson, getting rid of Blatch, and signing other guys for the bench who are willing to take less money, but probably would also give the Nets less production, unless you find another Andre Blatch, someone who really teams aren't interested in, but turns out to really work in your favor. You gambled on him, it worked, and get the job done. In my opinion, if Smith comes at a decently acceptable price, I would definitely try and go for him because, Darren Williams, Joe Johnson, Gerald Wallace, Josh Smith, Brook Lopez. That's 5 All-Stars in your starting lineup, and I feel that would definitely help the Nets get further than a first-round exit next season. But we'll see where GM Billy King is going to come from. He's never been quiet in his tenure with the Nets. He's always erratic to make a move. The Nets have the 22nd pick in this year's first player draft. So we will see what King does up to the draft. He's really unpredictable. He could do nothing. He could sign a free agent. He could make a trade, which includes that first-round pick. So we will see what Billy King does over the next week or so to improve this team. Because in my opinion, you keep the team the same, you'll get the same. And the Nets really were an inconsistent team last season. Really didn't show much. They, at one point, would win 3 in a row, get you excited, then lose by 40, which we saw. But we will see. We still have time. It's a long summer. It's a long wait until late October, early November when the season will begin. So we will get back to the Nets. So now I'm going to focus on the very high paid attention to New York Islanders. Since they made the playoffs, gave the Penguins a run for their money, they have really been the talk of the hockey town. With Game 6 between the Blackhawks and the Bruins, tonight could be the last game of the hockey season. And then after that, it's going to be all talks about trades and free agency, which I would expect the Islanders to be highly in the middle of. I expect them to get deeply involved and really find those missing puzzle pieces that will get us deep into the playoffs and making us Stanley Cup contenders. Let's start off with the goalie position, which is probably the most intriguing position for the Islanders this offseason. Evgeny Nabokov played 40 out of 48 games during the regular season. Really did a good job. I really have to hats off to Evgeny. He carried the team at point. He kept them in games. But in the playoffs, well, here's the thing. In the playoffs, Nabokov got ripped on by the Penguins. Demolished. We can all say that. But, was it his fault? Was it really his fault? When the Penguins moved on to play the Ottawa Senators in the next round, Craig Anderson, all-star goalie for the Ottawa Senators, got demolished by the Penguins. So can we really blame Nabokov for that? I don't know. But did he look tired in the playoffs? 100%. He looked old. If that's okay to say. He looked old. Nabokov, 38 years old, really, I don't know if he can make it as a starter anymore. Especially with the 48-game season. Next year it's going to be 82. And you cannot ride a 38-year-old goalie for 82 games like they did this season. So, I would like to see the Islanders try and make a move for goalie. They do have Kevin Poulin, Anders Nielsen in the system. But are they good enough to be able to handle a role with the Islanders? We saw this season Kevin Poulin did play backup and really did not seem to be in it when he did play. Poulin was phenomenal 2 years ago. Then he got hurt. Bridgeport, back up to the big club this year, and was pretty bad, to say the least. So I would like to see the Islanders go out and do something, because especially if you look at this, which was an absolute joke. Last season, the Islanders had to acquire players a week before the season started just to get the minimum cap. Not the maximum, the minimum. And that involved getting Brian Strait, Thomas Hickey, etc., who really did work out for the Islanders, if I must say so. Really good job scouting guys last minute by Gar Snow. But we have the money, which really, really, hopefully will help us this offseason. First goalie I was looking at, Jonathan Bernier from the Los Angeles Kings, backup goalie to Jonathan Quick. Really a young goalie, 24 years old, but has shown potential in the games he's played this season. Islanders deep in discussions with the Kings to get him. Might look like they get him. A couple days ago, the Kings say, we 100% are trading Bernier to 3 teams, and whoever gets the best offer will get him. The Islanders were not one of those 3 teams. Yesterday, the Kings dealt Bernier to the Toronto Maple Leafs for 2 prospects and a second-round pick, which I don't see why the Islanders couldn't have offered that, but that's not for me to say. So, which was a very odd move, though, because the Kings do have James Reimer, one of the best young goalies in the league. So I don't know what they were thinking acquiring Bernier. Now they have 2 good young goalies, but I don't know how that's going to work with both of them. Both of them are going to want to play. Both of them are going to want to get the time. Stinks for James Reimer. Led the Leafs to the playoffs this season, exited in the first round by the Bruins. You know, that's his job, and now he's going to have to fight for it. Maybe take a backup role. Maybe they're going to have to split the time, which really isn't fair to him. So, Bernier, gone. My next choice would be Mike Smith from the Phoenix Coyotes. Smith has been very good for the Coyotes as their starter. He is now a free agent and asking way over the Coyotes' budget. That's when the Islanders come in. With a lot of money to spend, the Islanders should go to Smith, say, what do you want? We will give it to you. I think it would be a great combination. Mike Smith starting 60 games, and then you do re-sign Nabokov. 2-year contract, if that's what's going to get him to stay. He can have him start 20-25 games as the backup. That would be great. You have Mike Smith, a decent starting goalie for you, and then when he needs a break, you get Nabokov, who led the Islanders to the playoffs last season. I don't see any reason why Garth Snell can't go out and get that job done. But we will see how he plays it. Again, like I said, the Nets, the draft coming up in a week, Garth Snell could be playing with that first-round pick. The Islanders were not in the lottery this year. They do not have a top 5 pick, so we will see. So, in other free agency news, we all saw that the Islanders dealt Mark Streit to the Philadelphia Flyers for a 4th-round pick. They just got the job done to get rid of Streit. They weren't going to get anything for him because it was said that he was going to be gone in free agency. So, at least Garth went out and got the 4th-round pick. I don't know how I feel about trading him to a division rival, but the 4th-round pick will help. The other free agent who is a must-sign, Lubomir Wisnowski. He came to the Islanders about a quarter into the season and really played good. I really liked him. He really set the tempo with the defense. And I really hope that they can re-sign him because he was a good fit for someone who didn't even want to come to the Islanders, for say. Loves it now and is really looking to come back. So hopefully the Islanders will give him the money that he wants and he will be back. I really wouldn't mind seeing the Islanders to go out and get a free agent offensive player. Someone to just pair up with Tavares. I can't stress enough, if Tavares had someone to help him score, that would really be an amazing first line. Brad Boyes, they tried to do that with Boyes this year. Boyes really didn't help Tavares. Tavares helped Boyes. And Boyes a free agent now. I would keep Brad Boyes. He's not a first liner, though. Second, third line, yes. Very decent player. But I think that the Islanders really need to go out and fix a few kinks. Because the young guys that played this season will continue to play next season and continue to improve. We saw Brock Nelson, the young forward, play Game 6 of the playoffs last season, his first NHL game, last game of the season for the Islanders. He looked good. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't make the team. Then you have defensive prospect Griffin Reinhart, who will compete for a spot this year. I don't know if he'll make it, along with centerman top prospect Ryan Strome. He's also going to compete with the spot. I wouldn't rush those two, though. You could start them in Bridgeport and work your way if the team is struggling, bring them up. But we saw Strome last year make the adjustment from junior hockey to AAA and score a couple goals for the Bridgeport Sound Tigers and really be an asset for them down the stretch. So I think that's what the Islanders should do. It is going to be a very fun offseason for the first time in years. It's going to be a very exciting offseason, and I can say as an Islander fan myself, we all cannot wait for October to start and really see what this team can do after tasting victory, getting a taste of the playoffs, and we'll see if they can run with that. I am, though, interested to see if they can hold a good season through 82 games. They did through 48 games, but it is going to be a longer season this season. But with the young guys, the fresh legs, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't, especially if they can get the two goalies, mix them in and out. I really think the Islanders can definitely be a contender this season, especially after the way they played the Penguins. Teams are going to know that the Islanders are for real. They were not a fluke last season. So, that is going to be it for the afternoon show with Jacob Seus. Thank you for listening to New York Sports. Have a good afternoon, and we'll catch you next time.